Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Beth. I'm a grateful woman in recovery. I want to preface this because I do have ADD that I was just asked an hour and a half ago to do this. So wherever I may go, you're coming with me. Thank you, Marsha. That was a lot. Wow. So I guess my story starts in Massachusetts. I am the youngest of 4 girls. I grew up in a loving home, but a home with an alcoholic father and a codependent mother. So I had an interesting childhood. And, it's interesting because only in recovery did I realize how crazy my childhood was. I actually thought it was normal. And being able to speak to my sister in recovery as, in the present, I've learned so much about my family and my recovery, which has really helped. But anyway, I grew up Catholic, and I grew up knowing that if you did wrong, God's going to punish you. So I went to Catholic school. But my story's a little different because I am not in recovery for substance or alcohol. I am in recovery for a whole host of other things. I was able to go through life a very hurt person for many, many years because I partied a lot as a young person, but I didn't stay with it. I jumped to men. I looked for my, value and love from men, what I didn't get at home. My dad was very present. He was a provider. He was physically present, but he wasn't present. And I got the tail end. My sisters are 6, 9, and 11 years older, so of course, we all know addiction progresses, and so by the time my dad's drinking had progressed, it was really, really bad in my house, and I was the only one left. I lived in other homes a lot in high school because I didn't want to be there. It was really unhealthy, and again, I was the rule follower. I did everything right in the adult's eyes, and my whole life was always a secret because everything I did behind the scenes was not good. But no one ever knew. And so I did the whole college party thing, and then the men thing, and then the overspending thing. And I went through my whole life saying that I didn't have any issues because I didn't stick with one thing. And the whole time I lived a lie because I didn't know who I was. I operated in pain, and I had an overeating issue. That was a really big thing for me. I'm a compulsive overeater, and it's something that's very easy to hide, but it's not easy to hide because then you end up wearing it for everybody to see when it's at its worst. And so I went through that a lot. I know where it all comes from through recovery. Grateful for recovery. I know that my hurt in my life is my relationship with my mother. It was not a close relationship, and she did the very best she could. I know that now. I didn't know that for a long time. But she is a full-blooded Italian, and she would cook. Oh, she can cook. And that's when I felt her love, is when she cooked. And I think that's when my unhealthy relationship with food began because I used it in every circumstance, right? I used it instead of a drug. I used food when I was depressed, when I was happy, it didn't matter. And I did it in private where no one would see. And I would hide containers. And I don't know what just one of anything is. And I even said that one time. I said that to my husband. I was like, oh, yeah, I drank as a young person. I never knew when to stop. He's like, well, you might have had a problem with addiction. You might have a problem with addiction. I never really connected it all. But same thing with spending. It didn't matter. I had the pain deep in me from what I lacked as a child. I had it. Just like everybody starts somewhere. We don't just end up like that. We don't just use. We all have an experience of hurt in life that leads us there. And that was mine. I operated that way till I was 45 years old. I'm 55. And, it took me all that time to understand that this isn't working in this life. I was so spiritually dead that I just went through the motions. I was blessed to be able to have 2 children, but I had a failed marriage. I was always in my behaviors, and I had very little trust for anyone, the typical stuff. But I would say, I don't know, I've lost track of time, 11 years ago, I met a man at work. I was still married, and it wasn't great, but I was still married. I met a man, and I was unfaithful in my marriage. And that was sort of the head of, like, this, you're not doing too good. But I would never look at it. And I was a victim, and I was the way I was because of what you did. If they didn't do that, I had every excuse there was in the book, every excuse. And something, though, happened through this. Like, this man, there was just something there. And it was physical at first, don't get me wrong. But it ended up growing into something later a lot different than I would have ever expected. But time passed. I ended up, of course, divorced, and I started going to this church called The Journey. Started going by myself. I sat in like the same seat every week next to the pole in the old gathering before the new auditorium was built. Sat there every week. And then I started getting right into service. And let me back up just a second. I was so mad at God. My dad got sober when I was a junior going into a senior in high school. So I was so blessed to have my dad be sober. I would wake up and he would cook breakfast. It was the weirdest thing. I would wake up for school and he'd be cooking breakfast, and we'd like have conversations. It was wild. It was such a blessing. And then I ended up here, and my son was 6 months old, who's going to be 30 now, but he was 6 months old, and my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And that was really difficult. They gave him 6 months. He lived like 6 more years. But when I lost him, I could not fathom why God would have this man go through all he did in life, to end up becoming sober and living such a great life, and then be taken again. I could not wrap my head around it. It was so painful for all of us. So I was not with God for a long time. So anyway, I start coming to this church, and something starts changing, but I'm still in all these behaviors, right? And my then boyfriend, he was like, I was like, come to church with me. I don't want to come to church. And the only way I got him there, I was like, they have recovery there. He came to church. And anyone that knows him, he literally was like, he wouldn't raise it. He was like, why is everybody so happy? They're all raising their hands. So it was nuts how it all worked out. He ends up starting to go to the home group Strength and Recovery. His faith, everything soars, and I stay here. And I'm still here, and I'm still hurt. And the whole time, I have no idea. He's praying for me. He knows exactly what I need. I don't know what I need. I don't need anything. Nothing's wrong with me. And one night, I kept hearing, like, they have Celebrate Recovery. They have, and I actually went to his home group early on, and I qualified myself out. I was like, they're going to say, what is she even doing here? She doesn't have an alcohol or drug problem. She shouldn't be here. Like, I immediately thought that. I was like, I don't belong here. And then they started saying Zach's girlfriend, and I was like, I have a name. I was like, and they can't even call me by my name. I'm not going there. So anyway, a little time passes. Pain's still there. Behaviors are still there. I'm miserable. And when you're not using a substance, and you're not, you walk through life like this. You're like, yeah, got my mask on. It's a smile. All the time, I'm great. How are you? No, it's not happening. It was bad. And he kept saying, why don't you go? He brings me, we went to go watch somebody at Celebrate Recovery give their testimony. And I'd never been. And we went to support them. And the lady says, at Celebrate Recovery, they share in groups after the general meeting, says, are you going to join us? And I went, oh, no, I don't have any issues. They must have all been laughing, because on the ride home, he explains to me. I was like, I don't have anything wrong with me. And on the ride home, he explains it. And I was like, yeah, okay, I dismissed it. Well, I got so disgusted with myself watching him do so great. It was like the bad spirit was like still fighting, but watching the good take over, that I just got up one night and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to a meeting. And he told me later, which really got me, that, you know, he like was like tears of joy that I actually got up and I went. And I went, of all places, this just is not me, but it was so funny. Of all places, I went to Freedom Biker Church. That's where I went for my first meeting. And I was like, oh, this is so uncomfortable. I'm by myself. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And all of a sudden, we're all talking about, and I'm like, yeah, we all have the same issues. Oh, we all have the same issue. Me too. I was like, wow. And so from there on, I've never stopped. We ended up lucky enough at the journey to be able to start one, but I went through my step work and I learned the root of my issues, and I still have a lot of behaviors, a lot. The beauty today is I can see it when I do it, and I can turn it around and repent and go the other way, where before I couldn't see anything. And listen, it's not easy. I love you, babe, but it's not easy living with him. Like, he's a lot. He just doesn't stop. Like, he doesn't stop. And I am not like, whew. There's a lot of people are like, how do you keep up with him? I'm like, I don't. But seeing his heart, really, honestly, because I like to try to be a support for him, but seeing his heart and his passion and his faith and his love for giving back really helped me to have a love for that 12th step. Like, it is where you're healing in your journey. It, like, and the best advice ever, if you don't feel like doing it, do it. Best thing that anybody ever said to me, because I'm going to tell you something, a lot of days, I don't feel like doing anything when I get home from work. I'm like, I worked all day. You just do it. Every time God will show up. Every time he puts somebody in front of you, he gives you a message, and I'm grateful for that. And today, I'm able to serve others. I'm able to not be so selfish. I was so selfish. It was all about me. When's it gonna go right? When's it gonna, like, all that. It's such a victim mentality. You know, God moved in and he changed my heart. I was always so miserable about doing anything. Like, how dare you take my time? Now I'm like, you know, God, it's God's life. It's not my life. And it's really been a humbling thing to learn. The other thing is, I'm so close to my oldest sister, 11 years between us. And we can talk now about our child. Like, I couldn't talk about anything until I got a lot of healing. I couldn't talk about a lot. I'd get really, really upset. We can talk about it now, and we gain insight from each other. And she's like, wow, I didn't even know that's the perspective that you had as the youngest. As the oldest, I had this. Wow. So we can do that today in a very healthy way. We can do that still loving our parents and not having, like, as painful as things were, I had to look at me as a parent, right? Because I was unhealed, and the things that I caused my own kids that, you know, we all need forgiveness. We're all human. The gift is the 12 steps. The gift is finding recovery. The gift is the fellowship. The gift is being able to call anybody up and say, hey, I'm going through this, which, by the way, I struggle to do that. I still have to force myself to call somebody else and not carry it. I struggle with that. I struggle with being reactive still today, mostly to my husband. I can really, like, real quick react with my mouth or be like, what? You know, and it's like, God's still working on me. There's a lot of things I need to still work on, but knowing I'm not alone, knowing that others love me, finding a family. I do go to Strength and Recovery now. I also do Celebrate Recovery, but Strength and Recovery, I don't compare myself out. We all have pain. We are all healing together, and we're family. And it feels really good to know that I'm never alone. We get to do all these things together, different events, like, everyone shows up for each other. It's so beautiful. And to think I fought it for so long, I wasn't really fighting it. I was fighting a relationship with God. I was fighting a surrender to him, to allow him to work in me. And today, my purpose is, I have two things that are my purpose, honestly. It's not glamorous, but my purpose is to support him because he does a lot. And, you know, it doesn't, I always say, it's so glamorous, like the laundry fairy doesn't come. The food shopper does. Like, and I know it doesn't sound fun, but like somebody has to do that, right? And I like to be in the background. And the other thing is I get to go and serve and tell people that there is hope. My story isn't the same as a lot of people's, but I still experienced life like everyone else. I just handled it differently, and not well, by the way. I handle it well now. Not every day, but I pray more. I make sure that I'm in my word. You know, God has taught me so many things, and now you can look back, and I know anybody else that's on their journey can look back and say, wow, look how he was there the whole time, even when I wasn't paying attention. He was there the whole time. I am so grateful I didn't go through my entire life being lost like that. And I am so grateful that I have a community of loving people around me. I have no idea where I am on time. Anyone? I'm done? Wrap it up. All right, so I guess that's all I have. Thank you for letting me share.